How long's the race, by the way? Who's red? Hello everyone and a very warm welcome here to the H1GP. It's our first time ever that we're broadcasting here for 2026, and after what's been a very fantastic first 3 rounds of the mainline H1GP series, we'll bring it to sort of attention over to the Academy series. A little bit less of that. It's more catered towards drivers which are sort of new to sim racing here, especially for the Southeast Asian region. And we also get to see not only just new drivers that you want to see in H1GP, but also a couple of new teams as well, as I believe. But warm-up is just slowly coming over to its conclusion. We've already had qualifying over and done with just early on. We're going to swiftly move on to the race very soon. The H1GP is a little bit less slower than that. We, instead of using the almighty F1 2026 modified cars, we're using something of the lower formulas. This is one of the TAS, I think it's the T318, I believe, often used for the Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand back in the late 2010s for the likes of Lance Stroll. Lando Norris has previously raced and won in these cars, and it's going to be that good proving ground and a good push step up for these drivers, Brun, Mohammed, Damien, Ko, Yap and Ardell, to kind of get themselves acquainted to this machine for having a step up into something as quick as the H1GP 2026 car has to offer. And my goodness, a race to offer it has been for the first 3 races. It's our first trip here to the European continent here in the circuit of Barcelona, slowly coming over to its end for the first time ever in its year. It's not hosting the Spanish Grand Prix in real life. It'll be hosting through in the Barcelona Grand Prix after the Madrid Ring takes over the Spanish Grand Prix in that sense, but often is a very good testing ground. It's a really good all-rounder sort of track, and we get to see sort of how that all-roundedness can play a good advantage to a track which will test the driver's abilities as much as this Academy race will come here. But the lights are going to come on. We're going to have 30 minutes of exciting racing between the 5 drivers. And the lights are off and we're underway. A pretty good start there from Ko. Ardell to fall from behind. There's contact already between the 2 mates of the GLR H1GP Academy cars, and Brun and Mohammed Damien both hitting each other at the start of the straight. Just a little bit of lack of awareness, but we'll still be able to go for. I think they should be able to be fine. They'll be able a little bit of damage, but we'll have time to go to the pits, of course. And there you go. The timer is slowly ticking down. The Blue Steel Racing drivers are the ones going to leave. It's Ko that leads Ardell, but look at this. Ardell right onto the inside, and Ko almost makes contact, but Ardell manages to push his way through, and Jensen will be the one that leads heading into the first sector. Fantastic start that was there from Ardell, right down to the middle though, as you can see Yap doing this ever so closely to trial into the grip, but is unable to do so. I think we can sort of start to see the Blue Steel Racing cars just slowly start to pull away a little bit from Yap at the moment, but first sector already done with approaching versus the second sector, which will utilise a little bit of substitution. Ko going a little bit wide, but he will be able to have the substitution to maybe bust that in back just a little bit. You can notice the gap there. Mohammed Damien and Brun will suffer from damage 10 and 20 seconds, so about a 10-second of a gap split between the 2. So I think there is definitely a chance that they'll be able to finish, but the race will still go on. Jensen just navigating over through to the last few corners, not using for the chicane this time, so 2 very medium speed corners. This one just a slight tap on the brakes, but not enough downforce the TAS cars can produce means that you kind of have to be really, really careful with an Aston, but you can just see there really is taking space. You can sort of start to see the gap between Ko and Yap just climbing ever so slightly. See in the background there is Mohammed. He's not elected to go in the pit, so he's damage free, it seems. But navigation through turns 1 through 2, and then approaching over through to the long right-hander of turn 3. It's Ardell and Co still leading it. That gap has not as though closed up, but we got a bit of a yellow flag. I wonder if that might be Bryn or Mohammed. It might be Mohammed. He's already gone for another second, but I think it should be fine for now. Let's see here. This is coming over through to turn 5 to 6. Just a slightly wide hairpin, but one does approve a little bit of a challenge. You can just sort of see. I think Ko's starting to close it just ever so slightly. Ko's the pole sitter just losing out to Ardell for that surprise attack in turn 4 was. I was certainly caught by surprise as well. Sure, here's something so. Third sector upcoming, the hardest braking zone on the track. A little bit elongated for its adjustments for particles. It's a bit of a wider profile, so a little bit less of an overtaking opportunity as it would have been in the early 2010s, late 2000s. This really goes to show its effectiveness here. The amount of WS to produce for those last 2 quarters does give Ardell just that ever so gap to kind of pull away. You can sort of start seeing the best level 33.4 from Jensen Ardell's really putting his car through to the test here. And Ko isn't really anything to be stoned by. He's still giving it his soul, but he's just not quite close enough to make an attack to Ardell as much as he would like to. Yap is still in the midst through the pack though, but he's just slowly putting away. It's now come over to 12.4 seconds, and then you can see there Mohammed is still 14, so he's slowly also kind of pulling away. He's the overall Yap is the one for the new team, so we've talked about new teams as well. This is a racing team, it's a new team here for H1GP, I think overall, and very nice livery of. It's actually based on the Cadillac one, isn't it? It's asymmetrical. It's kind of black to the left side and white on the right side, so that's very nice. And you can see that Bruno has just about has most of the pits. He's been driving without front away. So now he's going to make the necessary repairs to do so for the, I think it was Green Line racing it was. So into the pits he is going to come and we'll be able to exit for ahead. Look at this up ahead. Ko and Ardell are so close. It's now coming over to 2:10s now. And they might be able to draw a little bit. Ardell likes to take the wide line in the hope for the defense and denies Ko that opportunity. Over to the penultimate corner. Grun has got a penalty. This is probably from speeding. I think he's just risking it. Yerk! Almost done. This is a dumb man's to recover. That is not easy to control your car, especially in R-Factor 2 simulations. But Yerk manages to control it absolutely perfectly, not out, he just let go for ever so slightly, but has not at all lost any of the momentum against Jensen Ardell. More importantly, is he going to go through turn 2, round through turn 3 once again. He can just sort of sit there again, playing into effect, and give Ardell a very necessary breather. I think it might have been a mistake Ardell must have made or go out an absolute blister over the sector to allow him to be that close. But the thing is, like, I'm not quite sure if Ardell will have the necessary momentum now to be able to pull away from Ko as much as he wants to, because that gap is still just about the 5 tenths though, and Ko goes a little bit wide again with the corrections. He does it so good, but this time I think it might have been a little more costly than it was through the final corner, because the gap has been extended by about 2 or 3 tenths, and yeah, that's very fortunate for Ko, but not until the end of the world. You can sort of see Ron there into the background there. He's starting to be getting caught up by the June of Lucy Racing. I think with the flags starting to come up, it could be interesting. Stefan Bird, who will truly be a spoiler into this lead battle between Ardell and Ko. We'll have to see what happens, but I think it should be fine. But in fact, he will have to go with service penalty anyway, regardless. So that will be Lucio Racing out to declare for Ardell and Ko through to the final quarter. Now to the start finish straight, we've got about 20 minutes left to go. So the last going to be relatively shorter than that. The making push to keep this up, of course. Part of it is to discover lap times. That doesn't make any racing any less exciting though. Ardell and Ko still in the midst of the duel for turns 1 and through 2. you can sort of see them all. They both have got very different ways of kind of attacking the car. You can see Ardell's a lot more sliding and Co's a lot more grip here. You can sort of see the front end as well with those tires. It starts to grate just a little bit, but these tires are meant to last for a very, very long time. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, runs up for that penalty means that he's jumped all the way back down. He's about a lap down, even to his teammate, Mohammed Adami. So he will still be fine with fourth. Yap is just beyond that 10-second gap as well. So yeah, we get to see just how he's progressing through. So he's, apart from the incidents had with his team, it's been relatively uneventful for Damien, but still really good nonetheless for him. Utilising as much practice and as much lap times as he can. I think that's really the all importance here in the H1GP, just to really see the race to the finish. The Yerrick and Yesit could be going for a duel, and maybe a proper one that we haven't seen since the start of the race. Gap has already gone down to about 2/10, and Yerrick is doing all he possibly can to close that gap ever so more and ever so more through to the final quarter. And on to the start stretch, he's going to hope to mitigate as little dirty as he possibly can. I think he did pretty okay, and we'll have the DRS as well. Through the start finish straight, is it going to be close enough? Going over to 2/10, 2.5 tenths. Is it going to be close to 1.5 tenths? I don't think it will be. Down to turn one, and it'll just stay that way for the time being, it seems. But no, is still going to lead after just 21 minutes. He has not at all lost the lead that he has taken away from Co since the start, and he's been doing very, very good for the last almost 10 minutes to kind of hold that off. And Yerrick seems to be giving everything, including the kitchen sink, and Yesit just simply will not budge at the moment. But this is pretty good news for the folks who are racing to have a 1-2. And a very sizable gap on that, and for these two to be so close to pairing could bring to some very interesting future opportunities for them, especially in sim racing here. Still, with 21 minutes to 10 to go, you can sort of start to see the challenges that not only these drivers are kind of experiencing here at Catalunya, but also you expect to see come through tomorrow here at the H1GP, and we can, with the hecticness that we've seen in China and in Montreal, the track being ever so wider and not prone to walls, I think it's going to produce something very exciting. And again, saying it as an all-rounder, we can sort of start to see these drivers which area in sim racing that they excel on, and which they are struggling a little bit though. Yerrico a little bit wide out, just a tiny bit of the gravel, but still should be fine. You'll still have the DRS that will bring down the tenths ever more closer. I think it goes over to 2.5. I don't think the Taz cars has DRS, so I'm wondering if that might be a graphical. But he has closed up just ever so slightly, just not quite as much as he would want it to be. It's now pushing over to 4 times because of that dirty air at the moment. But we have got word, at least from H1GP, that there will be people that are bringing upgrades, which will be very, very important, and this could will truly influence the drivers come through tomorrow. Of course, everyone has certainly been practicing and working very hard, and of course, a finish really does mean all the world to everyone. I think the championship is also kind of brilliant too, but well, that's the sort of the exciting things we'll get to witness come through tomorrow. Yerrick and Yesit are still, I think Ardell is just slowly starting to pull away. In fact, he's gotten about 6 tenths already, and now pushed over to 7.5 now through to the third sector. Really late on the brakes. In fact, he had a better exit as well. He's already gained 5 tenths for the amount of that hairpin though, and Ardell seems to be in real big danger here. Right onto the exit through the fans, of course. He won't have to do, you have to just pull him off just ever so slightly. But that was not really quite the ideal final few quarters that Jensen would have liked, and we've just got a yellow flag second. I wonder who that could be. I think it might be Bert, but I'm not quite sure. None of the doubles seem to be ever so slightly off. A little bit of touch on the grass there from Yerrico, as he's just doing all he possibly can to kind of get Ardell a bit off. He knows that he has the opportunity if Ardell just has ever so slightly the slip on it, but the slip isn't really quite coming in Co's way. And well, the moment that it did, he just wasn't quite close enough to make the overtake. A bit of a replay. This was with Bryn earlier on, so I wasn't right, a bit of a struggle, very, very hard. That's a very hard one to kind of get right, especially with the camber in terms of the track. And you can't quite get early into the road application for that. But we're back over here to the light pictures now. We're almost approaching for the halfway distance. Yes, and Yerrick still in the mid, still have the pool. Neither of them have gotten to about over a second from each other since the start as well, which is very impressive. But it can maybe end here because Ardell has an absolutely blister of a second sector and is pushing Yerrick Coe away. But again, this is the third sector, and we can see that Coe seems to be a little bit more in his element, and a good third sector could mitigate that 1 second gap and really push Coe out of the opportunity for a chance at a race win here at Catalonia. And you can just sort of start to see it's becoming a strong suit now. Ardell was a little bit wide. He is feeling a little bit of the pressure and a little bit wide as well. Not ideal there from Ardell for the final 2 quarters. Still, the gap is a little bit sizable and still manageable for Ardell at the very least. That Coe can't quite make an offensive into the turn one at the moment. Yeah, at the background it's still 15 seconds, and Mohammed Damien is 31 seconds net from the leaders, so that's about still about halfway between Yap and Damien. Yeah, Bird is a bit struggling, but at least he is still racing, which is very, very good to see. Nonetheless, we can see all 5 racers finishing from where they started, which will be very, very nice. But yeah, Coe and Ardell is, I think we'll see over with Ardell now, and let's see here again, the second sector just seems to be all the more advantageous to him. He's more over to Slook as well, so this is going to be given a little bit more of the advantage that Coe has on. Speaking of which, Coe I think has just climbed back up, though it's gone over to about 2.5, that's though a little bit 3.5. It's just fluctuating all over the place. But Ardell really third sector if he doesn't want to lose the lead. And you can just sort of start to feel it. Coe is kind of feeling the pressure and is right to a little rear wing. And it's going to look for the opportunity. He almost looks for the opportunity. It's not quite close enough, but is it enough to push Ardell a little bit out? He just needs to put his nose in and push Ardell out of the race line. And the opportunity will surely capitalise. That was a really good attempt there by Coe, but Ardell was not to be deterred. And Ardell just kept his nose straight and clean and just raced his own pace for the final 2 sectors, and now that gap has gone over to 5/10 at the start-finish straight. So Coe really tried to put the opportunity there and almost kind of risk it in that sort, but Ardell, very, very good and very level-headed as he is, still manages to hold the lead. Almost approaching through 15 minutes and 30 seconds to go, so again almost through the halfway point, and still nothing seems to be quite breaking amongst between these two. 17 seconds again, Yap, and it's still just climbing, so I'm not quite sure. I think with David, since it's halfway, the time is like 90 seconds to be lapped, so David I don't think is in any threat at the moment to being lapped at the moment by the leaders, so it seems to be quite good for Mohammed Damien for the time being. And Yap is still in it's for P3, and he's quite relatively in no man's land, so he's perfectly fine to get not only him but his team another a podium for the H1GP Academy side of things, which is very, very good to see. Just realised that the leaders Jensen, Yerrick and Orville are all nodding through black and white ones, but this is the replay. This is exactly what we were trying to see with right down into the middle and so close. Ardell actually denies him. He realizes he's going to open, and just the opportunity he has immediately shuts the door. And because of that, I think Coe just didn't have anywhere to go. It's just Ardell just simply went off through the final 2 quarters and just pushed that distance ever so slightly. But that's just the ever so fine margins that we have seen in H1GP Academy, and it's absolutely amazing to see. Alas, 5/10 again, and I think it's sort of similar to the same gap that we've seen. A yellow flag somewhere, I'm not quite sure who that was. Oh, 2 yellow flags, in fact. I think that might be Damien that is dropping off. He's losing a couple of seconds. In fact, it's gone to 46 seconds, so he's lost about 15 seconds, I think, from that incident in the yellow flag in the second and third sector. So I think that might be heading over to the hairpin, I think it might be. But it did say 2 separate yellow flags, so we'll see for the replay to have seen what has happened. but Ardell, still managing for their own paces. It's now going into 5/10. It is Damien again, and that is, I was right, it was from the hairpin, but does manage to recover for a bit, but a little bit too much of a correction though from Miguel means that he's just a bit off the field level, but still, no harm done, no real damage made there, so that's all very good. I was wrong that it wasn't actually Damien at the end. Ardell seems to have a very sizable lead heading into the third sector. Even Co's best third sector won't be enough, I think, to provide any pressure. But we'll see how it does. You can just see Ardell's just not quite utilising as much of the track as he is. Maybe he could be feeling that the tyres are starting to grade on him as well, which could also play a very hefty role, of course. Since there's, I don't know if there's pit stops or not, but these tyres are made to last. And you need to utilise as much as you possibly can out of these tyres. Kind of goes a bit into the grass a little bit once again, but again, no harm done, just loses a few tenths off through to the first corner. With that in mind, the tyres, since there's less likely for pit stops, it means that often you feel these lockups and you feel these tyre degradations a lot more than you would in, say, in the H1GP, because you can easily mitigate that with a pit stop, and in fact there is a compulsory pit stop in that series. This one, since the feeder series, they're kind of like built to last, they're meant to last like a feature race and a sprint race, and quite a sizable race distance, especially like the one here with 30 minutes. That's often the typical Formula Feeder Series kind of distance we can expect, usually around the world, especially including the ones in Asia. But you can start to feel that just ever so slightly more. And speaking of which, you're feeling it ever so slightly more. Miguel Mohamed Damien is into the pits, and he's going to make, I think that might be a skip. Oh, look up! Oh, makes his way down to the inside of the hairpin, and a fantastic move. Almost a bit of contact. The Ardell tries to find a way to take it back, but that caught immediately everyone out of by surprise. And Co, similar to his teammate, from which he lost the lead, retakes the lead back with 11 minutes and 10 to go. What a fantastic overtake that was. Immediately caught Ardell by surprise. Ardell, I think, trying to make the corner, but then immediately hit the wheel. But luckily, you need a lot more force to cause damage. But Ardell's going to try and find a way to respond, and he's actually quite close enough, maybe to make a move into turn one if he would ever so like to. And he is trying to have a look for it, but he knows that it's not going to be quite close enough. The risk, unfortunately, does not outweigh the reward in his eyes at the moment, and we'll find another way to try and go out again. But what a move that was from Co to get the lead out away from Ardell. And Ardell now needs to think of his head and scratch, and he thinks, right, well, I'm stronger in the first two sectors than Co, so that means that my opportunity should be there. But this is the replay here. Right, a late lunge, and right down into the inside. And does manage to make it through the corner as well. Ardell caught by surprise. Even you can see it from his reaction with that little tailspin. He was just doing ever so he can to try and get back that lead. But that eagerness sort of kind of cost him heavily big time, because it means that Co was just effectively leading through that final sector. But you can now see Ardell is strong again in the first two sectors, but it's not utilising that as much. In fact, it's kind of losing a little bit of momentum ever so slightly. Yeah, this is the replay here with Co. So you can see that Co from the backside swings his way on through, comes on through. There's a little bit of the contact, so again, he wasn't expecting it, and that is the overcorrection that we kind of see, just the eagerness of the throttle, because it was just so unexpected for Yetz, and he was not expecting it whatsoever. And Co now seemingly has retaken the lead, is now really pushing it down to its limits. And right to the final corner, I won't be surprised if it might be a fastest lap there from Co, because it's got to about 1.1 seconds. Ardell is stronger than 2 sectors, so that means he needs to think about how we can utilise that to his best. And unfortunately, compared to Co's got a really good overtaking opportunity in the third sector with that hairpin. But with Ardell, it's a little bit less. It's a little bit less of a certainty for him. I think he's got. I want to check through the map again. He's got turns 5. He has turn 5 if he wants to. Maybe turn 4. But turn 4 was a big surprise. So his best opportunity is right over here. So this corner is where he needs to put his eggs into his basket. But he needs to hope that the rest of that sector, so the second sector, the third sector, and the first sector, is going to be good enough that he has the opportunity to close that up here. Damien has suffered for, I think, another bit of a yellow flag again. That's kind of what happened, just a little bit too much on the throttle on the entry or midway through turn 4. Ooh, and does try to recover, but he just seems, much of it might be a bit of a distraction. Ooh, he seems to be fine though, so just a little bit wide a bit, but does keep his car in one piece. Again, he's still luckily going to be able to finish this. The gap between Ardell and Coe, you can just see there on the bottom right, it is climbing more. It's gone over to 1.5 seconds, and it's still continuing to climb, which is all the better for Coe and all the worse for Ardell a bit. But maybe it could also show that maybe Coe was kind of holding back a little bit as well, because he was up in the slipstream of Ardell just more. So it's very, very interesting. I think with Damien having suffered with that, it means that he could be under pressure to be lapped. There you go. There is the pictures. He's currently holding on to still 4th at the moment, but I think it's, what is it, 100 seconds? No, it's more than 100 seconds. It's like 100 and I think like 3 or 4 or 5 that you risk being lapped here at Barcelona. Still 7 minutes and 25 to go, so we're slowly ticking down as we approach for that one. Of course, I think Damien also had a pit stop as well earlier, which does contribute to the fact that he's at risk of being lapped so early on. So if Coe and Ardell are feeling the need to pit as well, then that could give a bit of relief over to Damien. But also, again, lap traffic kind of does influence races in the long run. So if Damien might make this hard for Coe, and again, there's only like I think with the blue flag been able to, you're not obliged to just move out of the way immediately. You can do it like at your leisure. So already the impact is, oh my goodness me, oh my word, that one could have almost ended horribly. Mohamed Damien managed to rejoin, luckily out of danger, but it was just a very scary moment on the exit out of turn, I think 11 I believe it was. And that could have ended absolutely chaotic there for Mohamed Damien. But luckily he's managed to rejoin out of harm's way. So this is going to be unfortunate for Ardell, and all the better for Coe, because he's now behind a slower car. And well, I think for Ardell, he would have hoped for Coe to have been under the dirty air of Mohamed Damien a lot more than he was. In fact, Ardell goes his way on through past into turn 4 through to turn 5, and I think with the paces that those two have been showing, it will not again, I don't think will cause any more real situations yet for the time being. But alas, 5 minutes and 30 to go. That was our first real big scare of the race, and I want to see if it was just, it seemed to be just too easy on the acceleration. Does rejoin. He does like immediately rejoin the racing line, just really narrow-handed. That really could have ended horribly. I think Coe kind of saw upcoming. I think you could sort of start to feel him lifting off the throttle and just cutting down to the inside. I think he did get a little bit lucky, but yeah, that's very good insightfulness there by him to have kind of seen the awareness and look ahead and just make his way around it. That's honestly a really good skill. That's the skill of a veteran sim racer, in my opinion, to just look for ahead. Peripheral vision is really, really important to the racing game. He's already showcasing that here in the H1GP Academy series, which is really, really good to see. 4 minutes and 40 to go. Still, not quite yet over between Ardell and Coe, even though the gap has been extended to over a second. Ardell, if he can muster something out from his car, from the tires that he has left, he could be able to still provide a bit of something to Coe to be worried about. And he is certainly trying his best in the two sectors in which he has the edge over Coe. The thing is, like, Coe being strong in the final sector means that not only is he able to extend that gap, but also it's enough to almost lessen the slipstream as well. So in comparison to Ardell, who was a little bit weak, that meant that on the longer straight, Coe would always have the slipstream. But here, since Coe is always strong in the third sector, Ardell is not able to utilize that slipstream advantage as much as he wants to, even though the first two sectors is, better than 3, obviously. So that's kind of what we're a little bit seeing here. And you can already start to see it's gone over to 1.2 seconds, 1.3, 1.4. It's climbing ever more, full 1.5, going over to 1.6, almost through to the final quarter. A little bit of dirty air had, in fact, it hasn't affected our down in the slightest. But then you can start to see for the slipstream it's just slowly climbing, but not at all to the range that it was earlier on. So that's kind of the importance that we're seeing here. There's another 3 minutes to go. Mohamed Damien, I think, is that his second pit stop? It's coming over for his, I think it might be a second pit stop. I wonder if he has any more sort of damage added to his race, or it could be just a scheduled pit stop. But we'll have to see as he's actually lost his rear wing, in fact. So very unfortunate there for Miguel Mohamed, but I think we'll still be able to finish at least in this race. 2 minutes and 30 to go. But the question is if he's going to exit out ahead of Stefan is my question. But because the rear wing is a lot longer in our Factor 2 at least to change than the front wing. But we have to see, is it the same one that has happened before? Oh my goodness me. In fact, he's lost both his front and his rear wing, in fact. And that was a very hefty impact. So that's been our, first damage since the collision between the two teammates that has lost something. But the good thing, at least from Miguel's side of things, is that he is able to finish. You can already see he's lost his suspension, so he has to kind of nest his way into the pits already, and that's a really big struggle. So he's very lucky to have made it in, and you could just see that Brune has indeed overtook him for P4, so he will, I think, outperform his team at the moment. Mohamed's just, I think, slowly going to exit out for the pits already. There he is. He's exited for the pits. And he might be added spoiler here in the dying minutes of the race. 90 seconds left to go. And with how Ko and Mohamed Damien have been last time round, Ko is again just going to do his absolute best to make his way on past. But the thing is, that there's not real much overtaking opportunities here, apart from maybe turn 5. So this could provide the spoiler even better through to Ardell. Oh my goodness, Mohamed has gone a little bit off, and that has allowed for Ko to make his way past through turn 5 even as well. And Ardell was hoping to capitalise on that opportunity, and hopefully he was going to swing the gap back into his favour. But it wouldn't be, because Mohamed just simply lost out on the exit of turn 4. And you can already start to see his car's already unstable, and the more that Ardell stays behind him, the gap is just all the more climbing even more. 2.4 seconds, 2.5 seconds. Jensen is kind of seeing his lead fading away so quickly. He has to make his way past him as soon as he possibly can, and Ko will be leading on through. And here you go, right through to the overtake. Jensen Ardell makes his way through as Damien goes off on the hairpin. Does manage to recover though, and will luckily still be able to finish very happily. But just unfortunate that couldn't quite provide the spoiler to Ko as Ardell would have hoped. In fact, it was more of a spoiler to Ardell than it was to Ko, and Ko can effectively see this race out with about 10 seconds left to go. He's got one last lap left, and Ardell has been just a little bit frustrated, I think, with both situations with Damien. Damien would have hoped to kind of pushed Ardell a bit more. If it both swung in Ardell's way, I think we could have seen maybe a lot more of a, not exciting battle, but right up to the last minute of a battle that what we've seen between Ko and Ardell. But the amount of racing that we've seen through these 20 minutes between Ko and Ardell without almost anything split between them has been very exciting. Probably one of the most exciting duels I've seen, at least in our Factor 2, at least in recent memory in my eyes. But with that time ticking down and 0, Jari Ko has got just one final sector. He's got 3 seconds of a gap, very sizable, and all the more manageable for himself as well. Although, yeah, even though it's been quite uneventful for him, he'll be very happy because he's been about 26 seconds, but he'll bring again a podium for himself and for the team for Fistia Sim Racing. So very good, at least from overall Yap to have kept it as clean as long as he has possibly can. But Jericho is going to slowly come out through to the final few corners, and will produce a very, very good race. It wasn't quite smooth sailing for him as much as he would have hoped, having started from pole position, but last for the final corner, he just gave everyone a run for his money. Through to the final corner, Jericho will win round 4 here in the H1GP Academy Series. Fantastic performance was from him. He gets an Ardell, completes over, which will be a Blue Steel Racing 1-2, which is very, very strong from both of them as well. A fantastic result from everyone all around here at the Blue Steel Racing factory. All around, yeah, all around through to the final quarter. And again for the new team, with a fantastic with what they have delivered. Orville Yap is going to come through to the final quarter and will clinch through the final podium spot here at the Circuit de Barcelona round. We've only got just a handful of people, I think, left to finish. Stefan Brunand, I think, Mohammed Damien, I think, has left to finish, but Cohen Ardell does celebrate. It was been a fantastic showing from them both, and extremely well deserved from them all. And you can see them out there going to celebrate, as winners certainly do. Yeah, I think we'll certainly join in a bit of the fun there, a little bit of a jostle there between Cohen and Ardell, but that was a really good showing from them. Both of them actually for these 3 minutes and so. But I think with the GSL as well also finishing as well, that means we've got everyone that has started has finished, which is, I think, might be the first ever here, at least in the H1GP broadcasting side of things. Even though there has been 5, we have seen so close instances of where drivers could instantly give up, but no, they persevered and they've finished, and they've truly delivered. They're not only going to bring points, but also, very importantly, experience, which will excel them more so to their sim racing journey. Stefan Bru will go through to the line in the green. I think that is everyone. I think Mohammed Damien has crossed the line, I believe. Has he? I think he has, right? Yeah, he has. So that's everyone that has effectively finished that. Bryn is just going on for his outlap, but then I'll tell that has really been us from here at the H1GP Academy. Thank you all so much, very much for watching for these very exciting 30 minutes. We might be streaming more of these rounds in the later times, but until then, we've also got on Sunday, very exciting, round 4, our first trip to the European continent. We'll see how the H1GP drivers will navigate through the circuit of Catalonia. Be sure to tune us in around the same time, but on Sunday at the 14th of May. But until then, thank you all so much for watching. I've been Mirotes, and we'll see you soon.